Hey guys, Scott back again with a new beer dissection video. I have a nice little treat here again today. Like I've got some good friends who've been getting me beers, whether it was Oregon, New Mexico, Maryland is this one I have today, as well as videos in the past that I've done. So what I have today is from Cloud9. I'm sorry, it's from Silver Branch Brewing Company down in Maryland. I'm sure I'm going to have it pop it over my shoulder here. Montgomery County, Maryland. It's called their Cloud9, which is their Hefeweizen or Weissbier, German style. I did do a video not that long ago on the what is style Hefeweizen Weissbier. If you crave a lot of the history and some of the nuances with the style of beer, definitely look under what is Hefeweizen or Weissbier. And I do a beer dissection on that one also. I know some of you don't really care about the history or whatever. That's fine also, but because I may only touch upon a few things from that video. I'm not going to dive into all the complete history of it. So and then, again, never had beer from this company, Silver Branch Brewing Company. They say a traditional German Weizen yeast gives our Hefeweizen complex flavors of banana and clove, which is good. All right, because sometimes that's what you're looking for. The German yeast will produce isoamyl acetate, which is the banana flavor and aroma, as well as 4-vinyl guaiacol, which is the clove. And that is in a classic German Hefeweizen or Weissbier. Sometimes you'll see American versions of Hefeweizen, but many times they're just American wheat beers. They're not using the classic yeast. And those beers, they can be very good, but they'll still just have typical, maybe a light citrus, floral, hop aroma, and things like that. All these beers should be using, roughly 50 to 70% wheat malt. It's not a written law here in the United States. It is in Germany, which they do use upwards of 60, 70% of wheat. Remember, Hefe means yeast, Weizen means wheat. So yeast, wheat, you get the idea. And again, the classic characteristic with the clove. So again, never had this. I do, Hefeweizen has become one of my more popular styles of beer for myself, as well as many others. When I was over in Germany, that was a big style that they drink over there. Secondary to Munich Helles, Weissbier is the next style. But again, you get more of that in the What Is Style video. I'm just taking a look at the can. It almost looks like it's at the Marienplatz picture here in Munich, but it may not be. But that's kind of what the artwork looks like here. Or maybe a compilation of different areas in Germany, putting it all together. Because one of them actually looks a little bit like, what's that one town, the medieval town? I was there. I can't even forget the name of the town. It may come to me. Rothenburg. That's it. It was Rothenburg. That kind of looks like some of the architecture there. All right, guys. So without further ado, let's just get right into this beer. Usually you want to use a Weissbier glass. I mean, this is only 12 ounces. I'm only using my tulip, but the Weissbier glass, which is kind of tapered in the middle, can kind of fans out a little bit. It allows you to pour, more rich, dense foam. Usually in this style of beer, you want about 3 inches of head or foam, as much as 5 inches, and compared to, say, the usual 1 to 2 inches that you'll expect in many other beers. So other than that, this is at 5% alcohol, which is right within the style range. It's roughly, I'm a little rusty with the number, but it's about 4.5 to 5.5% alcohol is for the BJCP guidelines. And again, don't mark my words on that. I'm a little rusty on the exact number, but it's right in that range. All right, so let's pour this bad boy out. So remember, they're usually using Pilsner malt, wheat malt in the grist. This one got about 1/2 inch of white, foam. You kind of got that medium gold color, which is pretty characteristic for the style. However, usually you expect to see a lot more haze in this beer. This is kind of like the original hazy. because of not just the yeast, but the wheat malt has a lot more proteins in it. So it's actually pretty clear for a Hefeweizen. This is kind of like a medium gold, but it is pretty clear other than some of my nucleation points and some of the bubbles coming up from the bottom of the glass also. So again, for style, a little bit clearer than you would expect most Hefeweizens Weiss beers that you'd get. So let's take a sniff of the aroma. Okay, yeah, this one's pretty heavy on the banana side. Again, they're not using banana. For those who just maybe fast forwarded, they're not using banana. It's from the yeast, the isoamine acetate byproduct from the yeast, chomping down on the wheat and the Pilsner malt. And usually when they ferment a little higher temperatures, like more in the 70s, high 60s, 70s, you'll lean a little bit more towards banana component. When it's a little bit lower temperature fermented, maybe closer to 50, 55, you'll usually get a little bit more of a clove. Again, phenolics or clove, not peppery phenolics, but clove phenolics. But you get a little bit of this, but it's a little bit more biased towards the banana on the aroma. Again, you get that wheat bread, white bread aroma from the malt. Okay, guys, but you can see it's actually even clearer now. So definitely clearer than typical Hefeweizens, but on the nose, it is pretty, depicts the classic banana and clove aromas. Okay, so cheers. Pretty high carbonated. This style that's what usually gives you the bigger dense foam and head, which this doesn't. So I'm actually quite surprised I didn't get a nice developed head even in my shorter glass that I'm not using a Weiss beer glass. The carbonation, it's actually pretty crisp. The bodies are usually kind of light on these to moderate, but it's pretty thin. Usually you want a little bit of a, kind of that thicker wheat, fuller mouth feel from the proteins from the wheat and things like that. This is drinking pretty crisp, like you're drinking a Munich Helles. It has that banana on the taste buds here too, as well as the clove. But again, heavier on the banana. And the banana is kind of like that overripe banana. When you have that banana that sits a little longer, kind of gets brown, you open it up, it gets that pungency from that. But very nice. It's easy drinking. It's very crisp, refreshing. The carbonation is actually a little bitey on there. And like I said, it's almost drinks a little bit more like a Munich Helles than it does a wheat beer or Hefeweizen Weiss beer. And it's kind of thin on the palate. Like usually it's not going to be as thick as your imperial stouts and cream stouts and things like that. But you usually expect a little bit more mouthfeel than this one does. This is kind of thin. It tastes good. It's very refreshing. A little bit of a carbonic bite there. No alcoholic warmth, which you wouldn't expect at 5%, or would you desire typically in this style. On the aftertaste, or I should say on the wheat, you are getting that wheaty white bread kind of malt profile. But again, my only knock, it's got the clove, it's got the banana. The carbonation is a little sharper than a typical classic Hefeweizen or your German styles. But overall, it's refreshing. It is nice. It's just, I think it's a few points away from really fitting the full category of a Hefeweizen, which maybe they're not using as much wheat in this one. I don't get all the grist on every single beer. So that's maybe why it's a little clearer than usual. Maybe they cold crashed it, which you really don't need to do that. Cold crashing is lowering the fermentation temperature, and the proteins and particulate will drop a little bit. Clarifies the beer somewhat. Because again, it is pretty clear here. Okay, it almost looks like, again, a Munich Helles, a Pilsner. Again, but it lacks that body that I usually get with most Hefeweizen. So, again, guys, this Silver Branch Brewing Company Cloud 9 Hefeweizen, it's very good. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm really enjoying it. I'll enjoy the rest of this can. And it has the clove. It's definitely closer to a German Hefeweizen, authentic Weiss beer, than a lot of American styles that claim that, like Widmer, they claim that they're Hefeweizen, but it's really not. They're not using the right yeast. The only thing is, I think it falls short of like a Schneider Weiss or Weinstefaner's Hefeweizen. I think even Hofbrauhaus has one, or Eyinger. So I think it falls a little bit short of a German style. So overall impression of this beer, I'm going to enjoy it. I mean, I would give it a good B. Just overall, just, enjoying it, drinkability. You're drinking, a German Weiss beer style beer. If I was going to compare it to the big boys of Germany, I would rank it lower. It would be kind of like, if I was comparing it to those styles, I would give it like a C minus, maybe even a D. But overall drinkability and other ones, so if I was comparing this to a lot of American versions I've had or other microbreweries, definitely kind of that B range. So anyway, guys, today's beer dissection, Silver Branch Brewing Company, Cloud 9, Hefeweizen. Again, roughly, I'd give it a B overall. Falls short of, I think, from all the Hefeweizens and Weiss beers I've had, whether it's Frankensteiner, Schneider Weiss, and things like that. It definitely falls short. It's just a little thin on the palate, a little bit more carbonic bite, even though it is usually a highly carbonated beer. It just doesn't have that wheat, malt, kind of high profile mouthfeel, things like that. But I would recommend it. So again, I know it seems like I'm contradicting myself, but versus the big boys, it falls short. But just general drinkability of this beer, I would enjoy it. And if I had more than just this one can, I'd have no problem consuming them. All right, guys, till the next beer dissection video, Cloud 9, Hefeweizen style from Silver Branch Brewing Company was today's beer dissection. Check out the What Is Style if you'd like a lot more history about wheat beers and the history, in Germany. All right, guys, have a great day. Take care.